Hello friends, today we're going to be talking about proportions that can arise in triangles. So this triangle below was created by dividing one side into 4 congruent segments and drawing lines parallel to one of the other sides. How many similar triangles are in the figure? Well, since these are all parallel to each other, we know we have a bunch of corresponding angles. Those are congruent. And then on the other side, we also have a bunch of congruent angles. So if we look at all the similar triangles, there's one similar triangle. And then if we go down 2 and 3 and 4. So we have 4 similar triangles here, which means we have sides that are proportional, a bunch of sides that are proportional to each other. And that's where this theorem comes from. If a line is parallel to one side of a triangle and intersects the other 2 sides, then it divides those sides proportionally. So if we look at the different sides here, side AM divided by side MB equals side CN divided by side NB. We also have a triangle mid-segment theorem. If a segment joins the midpoints, here we can tell that G is the midpoint because DG and GE are congruent, and H is the midpoint because EH and HF are congruent. So if those are congruent and those lines are, then those lines are parallel, and this middle segment is 1/2 of the segment that it's parallel to, or of the side that it's parallel to. So let's look here. All right, they're telling me that LN, this whole thing, is 9.6. So what is LM and MN? So what I'm going to do is draw 2 separate triangles. I'm going to kind of split this up. So this is triangle KLM. We'll call that 3. And then this is triangle, the whole triangle, JLN. I know all the way from J to L is 8. And we are going, and also we know that LN is 9.6. So we're going to find LM there. So I can do 3 over 8 equals x over 9.6. Solving this proportion then, 8 times x is 8x. 3 times 9.6 is 28.8. And then dividing by 8, I would get that x is 3.6. So x, remember, is LM here. This is 3.6. And if the whole thing has to be 9.6, that means MN has to be 9. So LM is 3.6, MN, not 9. MN is 6. Because the whole thing has to be 9.6. Let's look at another one here. We need to find x and y. So let's find x first. If I look at my picture here, I know that PS divided by SQ equals TR divided by TQ. So as of right now, I'm going to kind of pretend like this segment isn't there. So I know this whole thing is 16, and I know this whole thing is 12. So plugging in what I know here, SP is x plus 2, SQ is 16, TR is x, TQ is 12, and then solving this, 16 times x equals 12 times x plus 2. So 16 times x equals 12x plus 24. And then taking 12x, I'll get 4x is 24. And then dividing by 4, I would get x is 6. So there's our x. Now we need to find our y. This is going to be using that mid-segment theorem. Well, we know that UV is half of PR. So UV is y is half of 30, which means y is 15 then. So again, this segment is half of this segment. Now we're going to find Z. To find Z, we're going to use similar triangles again. So I'm going to draw my triangle that has to do with Z. So here's Z. This is S, Q, and T. I know from S to Q is 16. I know from Q to T is 12. And then if I look at the whole triangle, we have P, Q, and R. Recall we already figured out that X is 8, so this whole thing is 10. So this whole side then, I'm sorry, we found that X is 6. So this whole thing is 8. So that whole side then is 24. And all the way from Q to R, again, we found that X is 6. So all the way from Q to R is 18. And I know that this is 30. So solving for Z, I'll do 16 over 24 equals Z over 30. I could have also done 12 over 18 equals Z over 30. So 16 times 30 equals 24Z. 16 times 30 is 480 equals 24Z. And dividing by 24, I would get that Z is 20. All right, this one, given that AD is 12, BD is 16, CE is 18, find BE. Well, I know that AD over DB equals CE over EB. So plugging in what we know, 12 divided by 16 equals 18 divided by X. Solving this proportion, 12 times X is 12X. 16 times 18 is 288. And then dividing both sides by 12, I would get X is 24. So BE then is 24. We also know if 3 parallel lines intersect 2 transversals, then the segments intercepted on the transversals are proportional. So same type of thing, it's just that we don't have triangles here. A reflecting pool is separated by walkways parallel to Lincoln Street and Jefferson Street, which are parallel to each other. The city wants to add additional tiling around the pool. How much tiling does X feet represent? Well, looking here, I know that x divided by 60 equals 24 divided by 72. That's what that theorem just told us. So solving this, 72 times x is 72x. 60 times 24 is 1,440. And then dividing both sides by 72, we would get that x is 20. So x represents 20 feet. Now they want us to find y. So we're going to be using the y and the 24 this time. So I can say 60 over 24 equals 72 over y. Notice the numbers that I'm choosing that I'm putting on top of each other are from the same side. 60 over 24 equals 72 over y. And then solving this, 60 times y is 60y. 24 times 72 is 1728. Divide both sides by 60, and we get that y is 28.8 feet. All right, our last theorem here. If a ray bisects an angle of a triangle, then it divides the opposite side into two segments that are proportional to the other two sides of a triangle. So here, ux divided by wx. Let's color code these a little bit different. Ux divided by wx equals uv divided by wv. So those are the proportions that are created there. All right. So we need to find AD and DC. So if we set up our proportion, we know that AD divided by DC equals AB divided by BC. Substituting what we know, I know AD is x. If I know that whole thing is 13 and AD is x, that means CD is just 13 minus whatever x is. So x over 13 minus x equals 10 over 16. Solving this then, 16 times x is 16x. 10 times 13 minus x will simplify to 130 minus 10x. We add 10x to both sides. We get 26x is 130. And then dividing by 26, we would get x equals 5. So again, figure out the proportion first and then substitute the numbers in and then solve the proportion. One more here. I know CD divided by BD is going to equal CA divided by BA. So plugging in what we know, 3.5 over 2 equals x over 7. Solving this then, 2x equals 24.5, and dividing by 2, I would get x is 12.25. One more here. I know GK over KJ equals GH over JH. So 3x minus 7 over 12 equals 3x plus 3 over 18. Solving this one, 12 times 3x plus 3 equals 18 times 3x minus 7. And then distributing here, we end up with 36x plus 36 equals 54x minus 126. Getting all my x's on the same side here. I always like to get rid of the smaller one. So we have 36 equals 18x minus 126. And then adding 126, I would get 162 equals 18x. And finally, dividing by 18, we would get that x is 9. GH then would be 3 times 9, because it's 3x plus 3, so 3 times 9 plus 3, which is 30. And GK would be 3 times 9 minus 7, which is 20. All right, have a wonderful day.